Hello and welcome to the Adventure Games podcast. This is Shorta Dunbar, and I hope everybody watching is doing well. Now, very recently, I had a chance to speak to none other than Dave Gilbert of Wadjet, who has just released his latest game, Old Skies, and he was very kind enough to come onto the podcast to talk to me all about the game, with no spoilers, of course. Now, I spoke to him a couple of months ago. So, in this interview, he does talk a little bit about the strategy and the process of announcing the release date, but he doesn't give the release date itself in the interview because it wasn't announced then. The good news is the game, as I mentioned, is out now, and it's been getting rave reviews. We will be reviewing the game on this podcast and on this channel very, very soon. But in the meantime, you can first of all see a trailer for Old Skies, followed by my interview with Dave Gilbert. So please enjoy.
I'm Thea Quinn. I'm a time traveller. The future is fragile. Things can change instantly, and you won't ever even know it. We're not like other people. Their lives can be changed or erased in a moment, but not us. We're beyond all that. So, does it actually matter what we do? Does anything we do actually matter when you get down to it?
They told us we could see all the paths not taken, like it was so magical, so blasting special. But they left out one important thing. All those paths, none of them include us.
This isn't supposed to happen. We stay the same. Everything else changes. That was the deal. That's why I joined. It's not blasting fair. I am going to fix this. And I am going to die trying. As many times as it takes.
I am delighted to be joined by Dave Gilbert of Wadjet Studios. You may have heard of him. Been around a bit, making a few games. Dave, so first of all,
A
hello,
few.
Dave. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing well, thanks.
It's been a while, but well, first of all, Dave, you've made the Blackwell series Unavowed, not Avowed, which is out this year,
Mhm.
confusingly, but Unavowed a few years ago, and now your new game is about to be released, Old Skies. So really looking forward to finding out more. I played a demo of that game and I loved the demo, so looking forward to finding out more about this. Yeah, you were one of my first guests on this podcast way back in 2019.
I remember Narrowscope, right?
It was before Narrowscope. We
That's
spoke at
before.
Narrowscope. We met at
That's right.
Adventure X 2018.
That's right. That's right.
But
That's right. I met you at Narrowscope in
yes,
20.
Alice and a few others there as well. And then we spoke at WASD in London, RIP to WASD, the
Yeah.
conference,
Hmm.
unfortunately. And then you were part of a panel at Adventure X, I think 2 years ago now, with Tony Warrener and Tom Hardridge and Charlotte
Hmm.
Sutherland. But this feels like you're back on the podcast because
I'm back.
last time we spoke about your career, how you got into game development and all your games that you've made, and you've published a few as well.
It's the first time I've been on your podcast where there isn't a loud roaring crowd in the background.
Oh God, that was so bad for just about everyone I interviewed there. And then I thought, do I upload? And I said, you know what, I'm going to upload it because I thought they were interesting as well. But yeah, there was, we were both shouting. I did my best to reduce the background noise, but there's no
Mm.
background noise this time. So
Now we're both in
um,
controlled environments, and
exactly.
yes.
Here's hoping a fire alarm won't go off or anything. So how are you doing? So how is you are just about to launch your game, I believe in very soon in a few
Yeah.
months, I believe. How
We
are
haven't.
you? Or
Well, it depends.
whenever.
When do you think this will go up? Because I could say the date, but if
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 you,
this,
I'll just pause it.
there's a method to my madness.
Okay.
Yeah. So we have a date in mind, I know exactly when I'm going to launch, but we're holding back from announcing that because we're launching on Switch at the same time,
Oh,
and
very good.
so I have like a new trailer and everything, um, and we are hoping that Nintendo is going to give that trailer a bit of a push, and if they say yes, then I'll have to like wait another week or two to release that trailer and give the announcement. Um, because I could, I want that extra push from Nintendo. But if they say no, then we'll just announce and say, here's it's coming out on this day, and then I'll be let off the leash and everything. So it's been very, very hard to like not say anything because
I can imagine.
I want that dopamine hit of the game's coming out, that kind of stuff. But it's like we're holding back for that reason. So if there's no push from Nintendo, you know what their answer was.
Okay, well, hopefully there will be. Come on,
Yeah.
Nintendo.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
But well, we are looking forward to this game. And this looks set to be an incredible year for adventure games. With obviously your game, there's John Ingle's new game, Expelled, coming out. Francisco Gonzalez, Rosewater. I'm sure plenty others, and Oh Skies, which we will
Yeah.
talk about. So I suppose before we talk about development of this game, because we've all gone through COVID since the last time you were officially on the podcast
That's
back in
right. That's right.
2019, back in a controlled environment. So what is the setup for this game for people?
Okay. Well, basically, it's a time travel story. You play an agent for an agency that takes tourists into the past. And there are six or seven individual stories of you taking someone into the past, and your job is to make sure nothing goes wrong. And of course, everything goes wrong, and you have to put it right. So that's what the game is about. Time travel story where you have to fix stuff that someone messed up, or that you messed up, or basically something goes wrong, or goes off the rails, or goes in ways you don't expect, and you have to put it right somehow.
Oh, fantastic. I look forward to hearing more about that. I said I've played two demos. The first one released a couple of years ago, and the second one, which you released very, very shortly, very, very not too long ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, immediately I kind of felt like, okay, and we're back. Felt like playing on Avowed
Oh,
again or
oh,
Blackwell
thank you.
series. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, I think
That's
you
very
got this.
gratifying to
I
hear
think.
because it feels very different than most of the other stuff I've done, and the fact that like people can still tell it's written by me. It's got that elusive something that that a specific writer or creator can give to something, and I'm glad that that soul is still there, because it looks very different because of the art style, but I'm glad it still feels similar. That's gratifying to hear.
Yeah, and there are differences, of course. I mean, this is, time travel, going back in history. But yeah, I meant it in the best possible way that it's like, yeah, no, I think this is going to be good.
Oh, thank you.
So,
I hope
but,
so.
well, we shall see. But yeah, so since you released Unavowed, then COVID happened.
Yeah,
And I think
that
it's
that thing
screwed
happened.
with a lot. But the reason I mentioned it because you gave a talk. Well, first of all, I believe you were thinking about making this game in 3D originally. You released a demo, which I played and quite enjoyed.
Demo? Well, it
Was
was
it
a
a
jam game.
jam game? That's it. In 3D.
Yeah.
Was that your first time working with 3D for that game? This is in 2D,
Yes. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
and
Yeah. Yeah.
how did you find it personally? What did you think working on the jam game in 3D?
Well, I didn't end up doing 3D for the main game, which should tell you everything. But I enjoyed the process because like we had been working on a sequel to Techno Babylon in 3D, which sadly got put on hiatus because of the developer's health issues. But I had learned a lot of the tools over the course of that game being produced, and so when I was very writer's blocked, I was trying to think of what I wanted to do next, and I was having a lot of trouble there. And I thought, well, why don't I enter this jam anonymously, and make a little adventure game using these new 3D tools. And I'll enter anonymously because I'm hubristic enough to believe that like my name on a something like that would give it extra attention that it probably shouldn't get. A, because it would be unfair to the other developers entering, but also B, I was so I wasn't sure I was going to make anything good, and I didn't want like my brand to be tainted from that. So I made this little game in 2 weeks, and I had a lot of fun working on it because for the first time since my freeware days, back in 2001 or so, I was just making something for the pure love of making it. I hadn't done that in ages, and that was fun. So that experience was fun, and even working with the 3D tools was very interesting because I was able to do things that I had never done in a 2D game, things like camera angles and
I was going
stuff
to
like
say
that.
that. Yeah.
And that was fun. I mean, I made that game in 2 weeks. So if y'all want to look for it, it's on Game Jolt. Go on Game Jolt and look for Old Skies. It's not under my name. It's under Solomon Gillerny, because Solomon, King David, King Solomon, and Gilbert and Ernie. I thought that was hilarious, so I couldn't resist it. But yeah, that it's there, and it's like a precursor, very early rough version of what Old Skies would end up becoming. Um, so yeah, I had fun working on it. But when I tried making my own full 3D game, there's a big difference between just nabbing stuff from the asset store and putting it together versus doing everything on your own. Big difference.
Mm.
So we ended up just going back to the tried and true. Although it's really funny, we only were working on the 3D version of Old Skies for like 2 months, and even now, that was 2019, and
Mm.
so 6 years later, people are like, "I thought you were making this game in 3D." It's like we only did it for 2 months, like, and we gave up. We decided it was a bad idea. 2 months, that was it, and then people still are like, "I thought you were doing it in 3D." Nope.
Well, I mean, I have to say that the Old Skies, the full game now, from what I've played, from what I see, it looks absolutely gorgeous. And I like
Oh, thank
3D,
you.
but I think that you probably made the right decision, because it
I think
looks
it would
absolutely
it would
gorgeous.
require a bigger staff and time
Right.
and experience than I have.
Mm.
So I'd rather, we stuck to what we know. It's sort of ironic to say, like in 2019, by that, like we realized, oh, like this isn't working. Let's just go back to 2D. We need to finally make something. And then at first I tried making an Unavowed sequel. That didn't work out. And then I pivoted to Old Skies. And of course now, 5 years later, the game's finally coming out. So, I don't know why I was in such a rush, but that's where I am now.
Yeah, I mean, what you mentioned the camera angles in the demo, and I found that very interesting that we haven't seen from you before. And I thought, this looks like, as you said, it is a bit rough, but you made it 2 weeks, but it did feel like, oh, you've made a game in 3D before, with
Sort
the
of.
camera angles. But yeah, no,
I
but
was a
yeah, I thought that
broadcasting
was,
major in college. I know a little bit about it. Took some
yeah.
film classes.
Okay, well, that's why. That would explain because I thought, oh, this looks like, it doesn't look like you're just trying out 3D. It looks like you kind of knew what you were doing.
I,
With
I, I didn't.
well, with the camera angles at least, but
I figure like if you're gonna go 3D,
mm,
especially for a game like this, it's not enough to just do the exact same thing only in 3D this time. Like
mm,
use that third dimension. And the one thing I really wanted for the Jam game, which was I was hoping to parlay into a full game, was that feeling of walking around and like talking to people, which is
mm,
something I love in a lot of AAA stuff. You got your friends with you, or you got a character with you, and as you're walking and doing things, you're talking with each other. And often with adventure game, if you're talking, you're not playing.
mm.
And I wanted that experience of talking while playing. And it's really hard to do that with 2D games, especially a 2D, like a point and click adventure game where everything is a static screen.
Mm.
Um, so I didn't really get a chance to do that. Maybe I'll get a chance to do that next time. We'll see.
Well, well, we shall see. But you're the full game Old Skies. It is in 2D, and you're working with Ben Chandler again. But
Yeah.
as you mentioned there that it took you 5 years to make this game, and you mentioned a few years ago at a talk at Adventure X, because I'm sure a lot of us might be thinking, you released on Avowed, it was big success, got great reviews, won awards, so we're thinking, but this comes naturally to you. Next game, easy.
Yeah. No.
So what happened then? That
I want to say that like Unavowed was a guess, due to like my extraordinary genius. But you never know. Like you never know what's gonna hit. You
Mm,
never know what's gonna, I was just I managed to like tie into something that really resonated well with people, and also I was lucky with, just marketing and publicity. People were word of mouth was really good. I was very lucky, and also the game was good. I like to think.
hmm
But what happened here was when I started Old Skies, it was the beginning of 2020. And so that year was a terrible year, we all might remember.
hmm
And so I found it very hard to sit down and like design. It's one thing I always say there's a difference between being creative and creating. When you're trying to be creative, you're like trying to come up with the thing that you are going to create. And sometimes that is that can be hard when you can't really put a deadline on that because you're just pulling it from the ether. You're trying to make something exist that didn't exist before. And you can't say, well, I'm going to spend X time, like X amount of time making this. You have to know what that is first. And sometimes that's hard. It can be very satisfying and a lot of fun when it's like flowing and ideas are coming and things are great. But during a year like 2020, where the world was on fire, and I had a 6, 7 year old at home who needed to be homeschooled and wasn't she needed a lot of
mm,
help. you know um Either me or my wife had to be present during her school sessions because it was very hard for her to concentrate. And so every day was a negotiation of who would get their work done that day. And everything was distracting, everything was felt terrible, and it was just not a good environment to be creative in. And so I was pushing forward because what else could I do? Like, this is my livelihood. So, but I realized, beginning of 2021, that I did not like what I was making. That it was forced because it really was. And I think if I was in a better environment where I could really, focus on the creativity and really was aware of what I was doing, I would have realized that a lot sooner. So what I did was I burnt it all down and started over with the same concept, but with a little bit more, making it a little bit more me, like knowing like focusing on what I knew worked and what didn't, then what didn't rather. And so technically it's been 5 years, but I don't count the first year. I don't
yeah.
think a lot of, I
No,
think
we should.
2020
None of us should.
None of us should count 2020 for anything. We all get a mulligan. It didn't count. And so I started over in like April of 2021. And that's when I really think of like, okay, this is when I started. So technically it's been 4 years.
4 years. We'll say 4 years.
Yeah. But also I did take time to work on other projects. We did Strangeland and Hobbs Barrow, and of course I've taken time to help Richard Cobbett with Nighthawks. So I haven't been entirely focused on Old Skies the entire time. I've taken like 3 to 5 months to like pivot to other projects, and I'm glad for them because those games are really good, and I'm glad they
Mm,
exist. And I think that gave me breaks, so I could focus on other things, and that was nice. So yeah, the game has taken a long time, but I also like got some other games out as well, and I'm glad about that.
yeah. Well. First of all, I think we'll give you a pass, like everyone,
Thank you.
because
I'm glad
COVID
someone
and
does. It's hard to give myself a pass. I like this show.
well, I think as you say, that time, beginning of COVID, because none of us knew what was happening or how long it was going to last, or
Mhm.
would we ever be able to go outside again?
Oh
Would we
God.
ever
Yeah.
be able to meet people again? But I think it's and yeah, you mentioned we played Strangeland and Hobbs Barrow, and they're both fantastic games. So
Oh,
it's not
thank you.
like you've certainly Wadjet and yourself haven't been doing nothing.
Yeah.
You have released two really good games, and working on Nighthawks as well.
As a publisher, yeah, not as me,
Sure.
not as me. But
But yeah, they're both fantastic games and as well. But I do think it takes it takes a how can I say this? It takes like a not a brave person, but bigger person to say, okay, what I'm doing is not working. Like, just put my ego, or not ego, but just put,
Yeah.
everything aside and go back to the drawing board. And I think we're all glad that you probably did that rather than releasing
Yeah.
something that's forced.
I mean, I think like I think
It's
back to my original idea, my original plan, and I like it a lot. Like I would like to see that story, but I wasn't the one to make it. It was too big, too epic,
mm,
and it was like trying to like support that epicness was just too much. I needed to keep it more grounded and more personal, and that's what I ended up doing instead, because that's where my heart lies with a lot of my work. It's got to be personal, and otherwise, it's like I think that was the block. Like my brain would just refuse to go there because it's like I didn't feel enough for it,
mm,
and that I think that is part of what I always focus on with my work is that there needs to be that personal connection because otherwise it's like why would I do it? It takes so long to make these games. If I don't feel connected to it or love it in some way, then that you're in for a terrible long slog. Because like I always feel there's a finite it's a that love is a finite resource for a project. And if you don't start with a large amount of love and excitement for something, that love and excitement is going to dwindle over the course of a project. And if you don't start off with a lot of that, you're going to be in trouble. Is I know that like you always hit that wall where you can't stand your work, you can't stand looking at it, you think it sucks, you're unsure if you made the right decision, you've invested all this time. Every developer hits that point. But the problem comes from when if the project lasts for a very, very long time, that just means you're going to hit that point and you're going to stay there for significantly longer until the game is out. And that's the danger of having worked on this game for so long. Is that I'm like I'm glad you need to get it done or else you're going to do severe damage to yourself. And I'm glad I managed to get to that point get to the point of finishing
mm.
before I managed to damage myself. Although,
Well, I think
who
we're all
knows?
glad about that.
Oh, thank you. Thank
I
you.
think we're
You got
because
to ship at the end of the day.
yeah, I mean, as much as we wanted to make a game and release it, we hope you're doing well as well. We don't want you to
Yeah.
damage yourself.
Yeah, I'd like to think, yeah, I think, yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so we spoke a little bit that this game is about time travel, that you're going back in different eras. First of all, where did that idea come from? What made you want to make a game about time travel?
Well, it started with that jam game. And what happened was I was playing around with all these various assets I nabbed from the asset store, and I discovered this system called UMA, where it's kind of like a real-time 3D poser where you can, put characters in, kind of adjust their facial features, height, weight, hair, color, all sorts of things. And you can buy various clothes, you can throw them on. And I downloaded this city pack where I could make like a city. And then I threw this woman in there and I nabbed this like weird futuristic outfit and put it on her and had her walk around. And my first thought was, oh, this is so funny. It's like she's some kind of time traveler from the future, wandering around a modern city. And then I just went with that because I had 2 weeks to make a game, right? So it was a jam. So I'm like, I'll just go with that. Let's just go with that. And so that's what I did. And yeah, that's basically where it started. And I ended up really um, enjoying the the characters and everything. I enjoyed working with Sally, the voice actress as Fia, and Edwin Cheong as Nazo. I enjoyed them, and I wanted to do more of it. So that's where it started.
Yeah, it's and so then just built from there. But yeah, I mean, I love that concept of time travel, but if I just think about it a little bit, my brain hurts because I keep thinking, well, what if, what if this happened? What if that happened?
I don't
And
know if this is going to be video or audio only, but if you're watching this, you could just see my face. Like,
and that's where I was going with for you because I mean, you at least in the demo, and I believe you've mentioned that you. What I like is how you deal head on with paradoxes. That because I
Yeah.
always think, what if that there was? I don't know if you've heard of the Michael Crichton novel Timeline.
Yes.
Yes,
Hmm.
have you read the book or
It's
yourself?
is that the one where they go like
Back in time to
to
medieval
it's
France.
terrible. It's a terrible book. It was so bad. Yeah, no, I remember it. It was because I
Well,
normally like Michael Crichton, and that book was terrible.
the film was even worse.
Oh, really? Oh,
I
okay.
saw the film and it was absolutely terrible. But well, I mean, what made me kind of laugh about in that book, they just said, yeah, paradoxes don't exist. That it's like if you go to a Yankees game and if you want to change the score of the game to get through security and whatever, that you can't change the outcome.
Mhm.
But I was like, oh, but sure, if you go back in times, medieval times with a bazooka, that could have changed. But anyway, talk about how you dealt with paradoxes in Old
Okay.
Sky. Did you do the Michael Crichton route or did you do something
No,
different?
I kind of did it so it's like I kind of leaned into it because yeah, that can do your head in because at first in one of the original drafts of it, Fia goes back in time and like if you click on anything, it was this conversation of like, oh, if I picked this thing up, did anything change? Did I mess anything up? And it was this constant like eggshell walking, like, oh, like I opened this door that I wasn't there. Did I change anything? And that got so annoying. And I just decided, that I just wasn't going to bother. And I decided to lean into it. Okay, she is like these time travelers, they're immune to paradoxes. And like it's allowed. Like paradoxes are allowed within reason, and so I leaned into that a bit. I'm trying to explain this without spoiling it. But the first scene of the game has Fia like at a bar picking up this guy and it's going very well. And then she's like about to seal the deal, and then he like poofs out of existence, because like he knows suddenly there was another time traveler who did something that prevented this guy from ever being born, and so that she's like, oh well, must be Tuesday, whatever. It probably maybe is for the best, and that's the kind of life that she has, where reality is just constantly shifting and changing around you, and because like time travel is a technology, it exists, people are using it, it's regulated to prevent like really catastrophic things from happening. But for the most part, it's like you can change little things, and so she's aware of all the little things that are happening, and so the arc for her that I took was like, what kind of person does this make you? This gives you this very nihilistic attitude towards life because it's like nothing you do really matters, right? And so, what does that do to you? And I wanted to take her from someone with that attitude to someone who really cares about something by the end. And so that's her arc. And so each of the individual missions will reinforce that along the way, where she discovers something she cares about and what does she do about that. And so that I found very interesting to play with, kind of because and how I think anyone can relate to that. And so like I said, trying to find that connection. And so that's how I dealt with paradoxes, is kind of make Fia very nihilistic about them.
Well, I think that that's a very interesting point that, does, I think talking about legacy, does what we do matter? And I know, not going to get political, but recently I've heard from one or two game developers who've been saying, well, look, at the time when the world is divided and so many horrible things are happening, I've heard, them say, well, what's the point of us making a video game? Does that matter? But my answer would be yes.
Hmm. God, yeah, I know.
Yes, I think now
It's
more than ever, we need entertainment. We need, not even just distraction, but we need, because games don't just have to be distractions. But I
yeah.
do think we need something else other than real life happening,
Well,
probably wherever you
especially
are in the world.
like doing the big dog and pony show with marketing and promotion and everything. It just seems like, yeah, you do feel weird doing that when so many terrible things are happening. But at the same time, like I think of, oh, like, you know, Invincible has a new episode. I'm really looking forward to that. Like I want to like I want my entertainment, so it's like being able to give that to others. I think is very important and I think kind of vital. And if I'm glad to be able to do that.
Mm,
Like there's not much I can do, but I can do that. And that means a lot to me.
mm.
The fact that I'm in a position where I can, you know, help people. It's I like to think that what I do is beyond mindless entertainment, but it's not like going to change the world. My work isn't going to change the world, but it might change a few minds. It might,
Yeah.
help people through some things. It might help people process a few things. And that's great when I people tell me that Blackwell helped them process a family member's death or something.
Mm.
I never quite know what to say. Thank you just doesn't seem like the right thing to say, or but what I'm grateful that I did help them. Like I'm grateful to have been in that
Mm.
position. And so I'm gratified. I'm very, very grateful that I can do that for people.
Yeah, I was talking, I think, was it last year, 2 years ago at Adventure X? I was talking to Paul Conway of with the Dark Side Detective, Spooky Doorway, and he said what mattered to him as well a lot were the little victories that, that you could, win awards, which are very nice. But he said when people would tell him, oh, yeah, Dark Side Detective, helped me through, I don't know, a very difficult period in my life. And I didn't
Hmm.
get through it thanks. Well, one of the reasons was your game that made me laugh or entertain me. And he said,
Yeah.
those are the moments that stick with you. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I've there's something. Rewards are great. Awards are great. Accolades are
mm,
great. 2019, I was nominated for an IGF award.
congratulations.
I
Yeah,
was
it's
flown. Thank you. I didn't win, but I was flown to various conferences. It was a wonderful, amazing year. And that's great. But then, now that's all over. And so it's like, okay, so now what? Like it's life still goes on. I'm not gonna, I don't think my next game is gonna quite reach that same level. Maybe it will, but if it doesn't, I can't be disappointed.
mm,
I can't let that be I can't let that be a letdown. I can't feel like I've done worse. Like someone else deserves that chance now, and that's great. What matters to me more than anything is that I'm able to keep doing this because I love it. And my
mm.
biggest worry is that I'll have to stop. And I don't want to stop. As long as I'm able to keep making these games and sustain our living and people still enjoy them, and I get to have those interactions with the fans and the players. That's all I want. That's all I love that. I live for it. It's wonderful. And I don't want to ever have to stop. And that's always my worry.
Well, hopefully you
That's my
won't
fear.
have to.
Thank you.
Otherwise, we'll get the time traveler to go back in time and help you
There we
continue
go.
making them. Hopefully, we
There we
won't
go.
need to get to that stage. But in your game, from reading about it and listening to other interviews, I believe there are different eras that you can go to.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to give any spoilers, so I'll leave that to you. What eras can you, or one or two eras, or
Okay.
I'll leave you, can
You
we
go. I
get
mean, I've
to?
I've listed them. There's not really spoilers.
Okay.
I've shown screenshots so many times. It's like, you go to the 1920s, you go to the 1870s. That was in the demo that I had just released. You go to the 90s. You go to the 2020s.
Ooh, that's that's
Yeah.
interesting.
That was in the first demo that I released. What's funny is that I made that demo in 2022 and I had it take place in 2024, thinking that it would have been released by then, and it wasn't, but whatever. And one, you go to Y2K era, like just before 9/11 and just after 9/11. Not during, I didn't go there, but yeah, so the story centers around the 9/11 attacks. So yeah, there's seven altogether. Technically, it's really six. The seventh one, you revisit one of the previous chapters. So it's technically six. It's really seven different eras that you visit.
Okay. And do you have any particular era that you would like to visit yourself? I'm guessing maybe not go back to 2001. I don't know.
I
But is there
mean,
any? Well, maybe
early
not.
2001, sure, but
Yeah,
not later.
any other era that you kind of worked on when you were doing research? Was there any
I
one that?
mean, I think like everyone who moves to New York wishes they came a little earlier. I had missed a lot of like the indie rock scene in New York. Like I came in 99 and like the 90s was such a great time for that in New York. Like you had CBGBs and like it was really, really like I just missed all that. That all kind of started to die when I arrived in New York, and I wish I could have seen that. Um, so yeah, that I would like to go back to that. Like if I
Okay.
could, yeah.
Okay.
Basically,
Yeah.
yeah. I can't really think of any particular era I would like to like live in, but
To
I'd like
visit.
to,
So say
yeah.
if you met a time traveler like in the game and you could visit any of the eras in the game, 1990s you're saying would be
90s grunge era New York. I would love to like go to like the music venues back then because it was
yeah.
really there were just it was such a vibe that I missed out on. I by that much. I didn't really get into music until a few years after I moved to New York, and so by then like most of that was gone. And I kept hearing about how cool it was, and like oh I went to this place and I saw this person, that person. I'm like I missed all that, and I regret that. I would love to go back and see it.
Yeah, yeah, you should have been there, man. You should,
I
well,
know I should have.
that's what parents have said. But yeah, I would have liked to go back to the 1920s. I don't know exactly why. I think just the kind of style at the time, just to see. But again, not just to visit. I'd like to go back to
Yeah.
this timeline as well. But and what was it a
I
conscious?
would love to, I would
Sorry,
like to
yeah,
see like the 1870s
yeah,
New York as well. I as long as like I was could like guarantee my safety because it
yeah,
was not a
exactly.
safe time to be in New York at that time. Like, but I would love to just see it because it's just it's almost even just pictures and paintings of it, it's just unrecognizable. You go uptown and it's all forest, and that's why I
Mm,
included that. If you play the Old Skies demo, that is what I tried to recreate because I thought it would be neat to like keep it in New York, but see things that you normally wouldn't see in one of our games, like forests, and stuff like that. You don't see that in New York normally, but you're still in New York, but it's the 1870s, so there's a forest here. And I thought that like I would love to see,
mm.
that and think, wow, in like 60 years, this is going to be like a friggin' CVS or whatever. Like I would just love to see that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I was the 2001, was that a conscious decision to go back there, or did that just happen naturally? Did you just want to go back to early
Um,
2000s
no,
or
I mean, it's not like I want to go back to
or in the
9/11,
game, I mean,
but I want to
to
revisit
include
it.
that in the game.
I mean, who knows where ideas come from, man? It was, I do think that it was something I had often toyed with before. Um, Being a New Yorker, and especially being a guy who writes games about New York, um, and having been a witness to the 9/11 attacks, who was there at that time, I saw them on fire and I am forever grateful I didn't see them fall, but I did see them
Mm.
on fire. We were just driving to a funeral of all things, and we were driving, and
Oh,
as we went over the bridge, you could see it, and then later I found out they freaking collapsed. So yeah, I haven't gone through it and been there in the aftermath and everything. I had a unique perspective on that, and it's not like I felt like, oh, I have to make this story because I'm the only one who can. But it was a story that I could tell. And it was a time and place that I could recreate because I remembered it. And it was nice to be able to do something with all those memories and all those feelings. Like I didn't really want to get into like the politics of it.
mm.
I didn't get into that at all because I don't think about the politics of it. I mean, I regret a lot of the politics that happened afterward, but for me, it was just like a terrible thing that happened on a on a specific day. It was a terrible thing that happened, and it kind of I remember what New York was like just before and just after, and wanted to I wanted to do something with that, and I did with the story in the game, and I think it turned out pretty well. So you'll see once the game comes out.
Yeah, it makes sense. As you mentioned, New Yorker, and it was a huge, huge, horrific thing that happened. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's,
I mean,
yeah,
there's horrible things happening all over the world right now.
of
So
course, of course.
it feels very like again, it's very easy to gaslight yourself. I'm gonna sneeze. It's easy to gaslight yourself into sneezing. Excuse me.
Bless you.
It's very easy to gaslight yourself into thinking that your problems, your issues, whatever you're going through doesn't matter. When there's so many terrible things
Mm,
happening. But like you shouldn't do that because everyone's problems matter to them. And
absolutely.
so this mattered a lot to me. And
Yeah.
even though, it's very easy to look back and think, like, oh, so many things horrible things happened as a result of this. I don't want to think about that. That's valid, but that's not how it was for me.
Mm,
And it was, again, I wouldn't say it was nice to do something with those feelings, but it was very cathartic to do something with those
mm.
feelings. And.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, as well as the story and the setting, one of the things that struck me, and I spoke to you a little bit before we recorded, is that this game has or seems to have more puzzles. And I don't want to give, I'm not going to give away the
Yes.
solution in the demo, but there is a puzzle that, and I think you mentioned that I was certainly overthinking it, and then I realized, oh, it's not this way, it's this
Yeah.
other way that we have to deal with it. And it also involves dying a lot in the game, that I died over and over and over again.
Yeah, there was a moment in the game where I thought that there needed to be an element of peril,
Mm,
and I was 'cause it's a kind of a sin in adventure games to kill off the player, and unavowed the player could die, but it was not like it wasn't a real death. It was like fade to white, you start over. It's like it never happened, and I felt like doing that a number of times would get annoying and samey and boring. Death had to mean something. And so I decided that, well, this is a time traveler. What if they could rewind their own death while keeping all the memories of, what happened the previous time around? Kind of Prince of Persia
mm,
style. Um, excuse me. But usually that again, the Prince of Persia stuff is basically just a undo button. It's like, oops, like I didn't mean to do that. Rewind, do it again. Um, but in this case, like she would remember everything, but let's make it a part of the puzzle design or the gameplay design. And I could indulge in another adventure game sin, which was a bit of moon logic, because often the issue with moon logic puzzles is that you click on something, you use something, you do something, and something unexpected happens that you would not have been able to guess, just from the clues in the game. But now I can indulge in that because you try something, you see what happens, and then you die and rewind, and now you know what happens if you do X. So now maybe you can use that to get past the obstacle. And so I had a lot of fun designing those puzzles. The example you gave is as a shootout in a bar. And so you need to manipulate the environment to prevent yourself from dying in the shootout. And it often is like, okay, what if I use this object here? Oh, this happens, and now you can rewind and do that and see how things play out, that kind of thing. And I had a lot of fun designing those because I got to indulge in some little bit of moon logic, and it fits with the gameplay and the structure that I created, and that was fun. And also, having it kind of gives Fia a very lackadaisical attitude towards dying, which if you played the demo, like it never stopped being funny. Just to write her reactions, like, oh, this again, and just the way she just her eye rolly reaction to dying was just never stopped being funny, and having Sally do that was also never stopped being funny.
yeah, it's I mean, you mentioned Sally Bowman. She had an incredible year last year. She was in probably some of the top games, top adventure games she was in, and now
I don't
again
think there
in,
are many adventure games that she hasn't been in.
yeah,
She's in pretty much everything.
and all the good ones. I think she was in Locomotive and Harold Halibut, and there were about five or
She was
ten or
in
something.
she was in Prim. She
Yes,
was in a lot of she's in
yeah.
everything. Yeah.
So, and she kind of helps to make it, as you mentioned, the eye rolly reaction that, oh, I'm being
Mhm.
shot again, or I'm being bludgeoned again. Let's go back.
Also, a lot of that is her. Like I know how she'll react to things, and I often write to that, which helps. Like, oh, like Sally is going to make this so funny, and I will write that with her in mind. Which and there's something very powerful about that.
That you work to their strength or her sense of humor.
Yeah, yeah,
And I know that you love working with voice actors as well. So
yeah.
was this as much fun on Old Skies working with
Oh
the voice
yeah,
actors as
oh
all
yeah.
the other times?
And what we did, which ended up being very smart, is that since this game was really, really big, and so I knew that if I left it, usually I would leave it all to the end, and I knew if I did that, it would be very, very overwhelming at the end because this game is really big. I think each of the individual chapters is probably the length of an average Blackwell game. It's that big,
Wow.
and maybe it's a little too big, but there's a reason why this game took so long. And so what I did with Sally is that okay, here I've got most of the dialogue written for this chapter. I might change some later, but I won't change a lot of it. Why don't we just sit down and record it all? And so we would do that. And so like every few months, or maybe like twice a year, we would sit down and record. And so we got like you got the demo section done in like 2022. And then in early 2023, we did like a whole nother chapter's worth of stuff. And then in 2024, we did some more. And we just, so Sally's, I got to know Sally's Fia very well. And so I was very familiar with how Sally would read Fia. And that was again like very powerful because I know with Blackwell, what helped a lot was knowing how Abel and Rebecca would voice Rosa and Joey. And so I was able to write with that in mind, and I could really hear their voices in my head. And having worked with Sally, piecemeal over the course of the project, enabled me to do that as well. And so I was able to make Fia. Fia just became that much stronger as a result. And
Yeah.
Edwin too, as well. And Edwin too with Nazo. Like he just, I knew exactly how he would say things, because again, I did the same thing with him.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. Again, just from the demo alone, again, I was laughing about the writing and then the voice acting, but even the interactions with the characters as well, with, as you mentioned, Nozo and then the other characters. And then it just turned serious that you're like, oh, wow, okay,
Yeah,
this is.
there's a bit of like I did this weird thing with Old Skies because this they always say you should keep a consistent tone.
Mm.
Old Skies does not do that. I think I kind of took a page from a show called Legends of Tomorrow, which is a time travel show, which is freaking work of art. Like, I really recommend people watch the show. The first season's a little ropey. It's one of those shows where you say it gets better later. The show really does get better later. The second season, they got rid of everything that didn't work and doubled down on everything that does. It's one of those shows that really course corrects in a good way. Anyway, I should here to talk about my stuff, not that.
Yeah,
Anyway,
but great to talk
um,
about other stuff
but
that
what they do
inspired
is
you.
they
But
balance that like utter sincerity with just complete ludicrous, you
yeah,
know, comedy, I guess, like a knife's edge. They manage that balance really, really well. And I think with Old Skies, what I tried to do, because I had so much trouble getting started on it during 2020, I just sort of followed. If I came up with an idea that made me smile or made me laugh or made me, kind of go, or whatever, like, I would chase it down. I would follow that serotonin and see where it led me. And often I was pleasantly surprised. And one reason why it's great that I set it up episodically, or chapter wise, each chapter is pretty standalone, is that I could indulge in a bit of an inconsistent tone. How the third chapter is a little bit more comedy. There are some serious moments again, but it indulges in a bit of funny because it's 19 eras prohibition. It needs to be fun, and so it's a prohibition gangster romp and it's fun. The fourth mission is bonkers. It's just bonkers and I love it. The time of the 9/11 mission is of course very serious. So it goes a little back and forth, and I'm okay with that
mm,
because I was just following the serotonin, whatever made me happy, whatever got the story into my head or out of my head and onto the page at the end of the day is what I needed. And so I didn't keep a consistent tone, and I think that's okay.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
Well, certainly from the demos, I think it seems to have worked
If it works, if it, yeah, as long
for it.
any rule can be broken as long as it works. And I think it worked here.
Well, I mean, you're adding your character is dying again and again, and you mentioned you're adding moon logic, so you're kind of
Yeah.
breaking all the rules.
Oh, I'm breaking every single rule I ever made. Yeah.
You're rebelling
Uh,
against the system.
yeah, yeah. There's like some, yeah. Rebelling
Well,
against my own system because you do something for long enough, you develop your own rules about how things
mm,
should and shouldn't be, and often that's what you often say like, oh, as you gain more experience and you do more work, the work takes longer. It's because you've developed all these rules for yourself and you're constantly second guessing yourself. And I gave a talk about this at Adventure X a while ago called Instinct versus Experience, and that I find myself having that battle constantly. I have this cool idea, but then my experience is like, are you sure that's gonna work? I don't know, because you did this other game where that didn't work. I don't know if this is gonna work because X, Y, and Z. And often you have to just sort of let instinct take over and just see and have faith in it. Uh, and that's sometimes not easy. So yeah, I think I had to do that a lot with this project.
yeah, well, so far it seems to be going well. Now, you've also worked with a couple of other people as well, the voice actors. We mentioned Ben Chandler, who's the
Yeah,
artist, and now this game. I mean, we've mentioned it is in 2D, but it still looks different, and is it high resolution?
it
I
is.
believe.
Yeah.
So I suppose, yeah. How did you work with Ben Chandler? Did you tell him just draw this, and how did he? Because I love the
Yes.
animations as well when they change their outfit to the time traveler and then
Yeah,
to the
Ben wanted to
normal.
challenge himself, and I think
Mm.
if he knew how long this project would be, or how big the project would be, he might have not suggested the idea. He really wanted to go HD, and I said, "Okay, let's do it." And let's see. And he managed to like come up with a workflow. I know he did model everything in 3D first, because if I didn't like the layout, he could shift it because you can do that with 3D. And then he would do again. I'm speaking for him, which I don't like doing. And then from there, we liked the layout in 3D, he would do line art, and then from there, I put the line art into the game because then I'd have the placement of everything, and then he would color it, and then we'd go from there. And so, yeah, I mean, the only real drawback to this high def art was that it took him longer to do, which was fine because then I could take longer with my design. I think I indulged in like I really tried to use that extra time to make the design better. Because I second guess myself all the time. But I'm like, oh well, Ben's not done with the art anyway, so I might as well tinker with this a little bit more. And so that's what I did. Um, but it did take a bit longer, and we decided for the next project we do, we're going to go down a resolution again
Okay.
because it's also, Ben has become more. I think he's more comfortable in that style. Like the HD stuff looks fantastic. Ben
Mm.
doesn't do things halfway. Like he will
No.
not. He will not make something that is crap. He will not. But it does take a long time, and we decided that for the next one, we don't want to take as long to make our next thing. So we're dropping back a resolution just to kind of get things done a little faster. It won't. I mean, it's not like he's going to half-ass it. I mean, it's Ben.
Mm.
He's not going to release anything that's bad.
Sure.
That's why I let him do.
But yeah, I mean, it looks gorgeous. And then, as I mentioned, the animations when they're changing, and particularly the outfit, they just put up their hand, and it's so dramatic, but it's so cool.
Yeah, they call it the He-Man pose, where they just I have the power, and then whoosh, yeah.
And yeah, so he worked on the Blackwell games, and did he do anything that surprised you at all? That you were like, whoa,
Oh, he
at all
surprises
this
me
all the
constantly,
time.
all the time. I mean, there
Yeah.
was I mean, in Unavowed, like some of the more gory animations, it's because Ben just decided to turn into a psychopath. Like there was one animation where I'm like, okay, here's a guy. Okay, the one that everyone knows this one. There was like that monster at the beginning of the game, where my notes to Ben was, okay, if you interact with this monster, he turns around and kills you. And I thought like he would like slash your throat or put it, just like punch you out or something. Ben decides he's gonna rip your face off, and he animates that, and it's done so quickly. It just goes raw rip, and it's just like face gone, and you die, and it's like. Okay, this is what we're doing. Face off, sure. And and
And you go from there. But yeah, well, look, I can't wait to see what other animations and backgrounds to see in the game because
there's always some hidden little secret in a background that I don't even know till years later. There's my personal favorite and unavowed is on the subway. There is a sign that says "E-Joy, only one mall." And there's a picture, a very faint picture of a guy in a suit. And he said, yeah, like flip the letters around. E-Joy, one mall, rearrange the letters to get Joey Malone. And then
oh,
there's the guy in a suit, right?
and that
And
was
I'm just
him.
like, that's really clever. Like I didn't get that. No one did. But yeah, that so I thought that was really funny. Stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, well, we'll be on the lookout.
Yeah.
I know Sky, see what things he adds in.
There's
But
always a story to like there's a bit of graffiti, there's a reason behind that graffiti because he always figures like that's what graffiti is. There is always a reason behind it. So he does that himself. He thinks of like something funny or something personal and he draws it he incorporates that into the graffiti and I think that's cool.
cool. No, definitely. Well, another person that you've worked with again is for the music, Thomas
Thomas.
Regan. Hope I got
Yep.
them. I mean, I've
Thomas
spoken
Reagan.
to Thomas Regan. I've spoken to him at Adventure X a few times. He's a wonderful guy. Very, very, very funny. But very talented as well. Very talented composer. He did music for Unavow and the Blackwell series. So I was delighted that he's back again for Old Skies.
I have been
Um,
working with Thomas since Blackwell Unbound in 2007. So that is
that's
2017. That is 18
18
years
years.
I've
Dear
been working with
Lord.
Thomas. And he never stops surprising me. He's so talented. And he again, like Ben, he doesn't do anything halfway. Like
Mm.
he he is currently in the midst of remastering and remixing all of the song, all of the music tracks from Old Skies, and so he sent me about half of them, and I plug them into the game, and it's like I'm re-experiencing the whole thing all over again. It's so good, and yeah, like I adore Thomas. I love working with him. There's a reason why I've been working with both of these guys for
With the
so
same
long.
guys, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, again, I've met him at Adventure X a few times, and yeah, just instantly I took a real liking to him. That he's so funny and so delighted, and he's also very proud in a good way that he's talking to me about his work and about the music, and I think yeah, that everyone. So how did you work with him again? He said he remastered it. So again, like with Ben, did you just give him notes? Say I want this, or how?
Hmm.
What was the process like with him? I mean, I'm sure you like, I don't know, like brothers now.
I mean, the thing about music, it's that it's, I think about art. I mean, like you
Mm,
need something very specific for a background or an animation, but music is a little more esoteric. And I feel really bad for folks who do composing for games specifically, because often it's like there's just, you can never tell if it works unless the whole track is complete, practically complete. It's really hard to like you know, music is about vibes, it's about feeling, and often it's really hard to like say exactly what it is I want.
mm,
Like in this scene, it's a little tense, it's a little, but there's tension, but these. It's a little sexy or something like that, and but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong about that. It's like I don't never know it until I see it in the game. I often feel by giving him like precise, exact, notes on what I want can sometimes ruin it because often it's like you never know. I don't know. Like music is so weird and
mm.
esoteric. It is magic to me. I will often say that like my thoughts on music in games now versus music in games like 20, 30 years ago. Because often you get composers, they want to make like the Final Fantasy soundtrack. They want to do like this big epic orchestral thing. But right now, in modern games, especially, music is just one part of the soundscape. You have like background, you have sound effects and ambience, and especially the voice acting, and especially as someone who really puts a lot of effort into voice acting. If you have this big orchestral score, it drowns out the voices. And so often I want the music to like support it from below as opposed to like leading it from above, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, yeah.
And so often it's like I want things. I feel bad for Thomas because he wants to make something really big and epic. I'm like, no, make it more subtle, and I feel really bad.
No, I think well, the demo again sounded great. The music was great as well. So I really can't wait to play the full game, to listen to the
Yeah.
music of the full game. So the signs are good. So I don't think we'll be asking Time Traveler to come and fix the game because those signs are good.
I mean, the game's almost done, so I think
So
if the time traveler was going to come, they would have come already, or maybe they did, and
yeah, we don't know.
the game is really good because of it. You never know.
No, so hopefully we'll find out soon about the release date as you mentioned with Nintendo. So hopefully Nintendo will push it, and I
Yeah,
hope
if not, no
people.
big deal. If not, no big deal. Like I think, it'll be fine either way. Like I'm happy, always happy if Nintendo wants to give it a push.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Well, we hope that a lot of people go out and buy this game because we want you to continue making games. You can
yes.
wish list.
That was a bit of emotional blackmail, isn't it? Like, God, I
Yeah.
just want to like, buy the game or I'll have to stop. Like, yeah. I hope you buy it because you
And
like it.
yeah, and it looks good as well.
Thank you.
Is there anything else that you'd like to mention about those guys that we haven't covered?
I guess not Oat
I
Skies
think we
specifically, but I mean, I just, to everyone. I mean, this is an adventure game podcast, so like,
yeah, or
I
anything
mean,
else you
that
want to
I
talk
always
about?
no, but I always consider that like the hardcore adventure gamers, they are like my foundation. If it wasn't
Mm,
for like this scene supporting me when I was first starting out and no one knew who the crap I was, back in 2006, like I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. And so I'm always very grateful you know, that y'all come out again and again to like play my stuff. It means the world. And I count myself extraordinarily lucky, extraordinarily blessed. And I just thank you. Yeah, I
mm.
just hope I can keep doing this for you guys. So, and for me, because I love doing it. But I'm just very grateful, more than I can say.
Yeah, well, as a player, thank you as well because your games have helped me. I mean, they're not through bad times, but they kind of have helped me to the Blackwell games, certainly with characters that were relatable.
Oh, thank you.
I think the one of the characters, I think people have mentioned this to you. That character was it the ghost who was a student, college student who wanted to go out to nightclubs, but then she just realized, oh no, it's
Oh
okay. I was
yeah.
like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
me.
That was me in my 20s, like
Yeah.
especially, being new to New York and thinking like, if I'm just feeling lazy and wanting to stay at home, I'm thinking, no, I'm in New York. I'm in the East Village. I need to go out. Come on, Dave. You're wasting your youth. Go out. And I go out and I'm being like, I don't
Yeah,
know if I really want to be here. And not
that
that I
was
didn't
me as well.
enjoy not that I didn't enjoy being in the East Village. I loved it. But I was not a partier and never have been.
Yeah,
And like
like me.
yeah, that so yeah,
Um,
like I said, there's always a lot of myself in a lot of these characters, and that was definitely one of them. And that was, I think,
um,
Cyril O'Malley who played that
oh,
character.
well, it's fantastic. It still resonates with me all these years later. That
Oh, thank you. I'm
yeah,
glad.
it's okay not to go out all the time, especially if you're young. And now I want to go out more, oddly enough.
But yeah,
Uh,
now we don't have the energy anymore. It's like, oh man.
10 p.m. I'm like, okay, I want to go home now.
I mean, that was me when I was 25 and wanted to go home at
Me
10 p.m.
too,
And
yeah.
now it's like 8 p.m. You want to go out? Nah, I don't know.
Just get
Yeah.
my pajamas on.
Hmm.
Well, final question. I know you probably won't be able to answer specifically, but do you have any ideas on what you might want to do next?
Well, yes. Not me personally, but Ben has asked
Oh, Ben.
for me. He's asked for a long time. He's wanted to do his own game. He's wanted to design his own game, and he had some really interesting ideas. And I said, "Yeah, it's after Old Skies is done. Like his plan is to start his own project." And he showed me his design. He showed me his some sketches and some background samples and the character design that he wants, and it's all looking great. And so I thought that's a wonderful idea because
Hmm.
I'm burnt out, and he's excited by this project, and so that's great. So even though me personally, I might not be doing something, Wadjet is, and of course I'll be on board to like be a producer and
Hmm.
be and help him with it. But this is going to be like his design, his writing, his baby. But I know at the bare minimum, at the very least, it's going to look effing amazing
Absolutely.
because it's Ben. So, I will say that for, 'cause I'm pretty confident saying that it's going
Mm,
to look great. Everything else we shall see. But so from what I've seen, it's all very interesting. He has some very interesting themes that he wants to explore, and he's created some really interesting characters to like kind of encompass those themes. So he's off to a great start, and yeah, I can't wait till we're able to shout about it more because it looks really good. So that's
fantastic.
what Wadjet is doing next. What I'm doing next, I have some ideas, but I can't really think beyond launch day right now
Sure, of
for
course.
Old
That
Skies. So I don't want to start thinking about the next thing when the current thing isn't done. I have
it's
some ideas, but
that
I
makes
don't want to.
sense.
Yeah,
I'm
and
sure
there's
you
a few
can.
games that there's a few developers I'm talking to about potentially publishing, but I was so wrapped up in Old Skies that
Mm,
I just didn't really have the spoons to like make any real hardcore arrangements. So there's a few others that I might be publishing. I don't know if I will, or what will become of them, but I am interested. But right now, all I can think about is Old Skies. I need to get it done, and then once that's done, we'll go from there, as I always have.
I think that's fair. Well, I hope to have Ben on the podcast maybe for his
Oh yeah.
game. And then the final thing, I'll.
He's a much better speaker than I am. So
Oh
yeah.
no, you're fine, I think. But the
No,
final
Ben, like
thing,
I know you keep saying you want to go, but like when we were at GDC together in 2019, it's like we'd be interviewed and they would ask, they'd ask me a question and I'd be like stammer, stammer, blah, 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 blah. You hear how I talk. They turn to Ben and it's like perfectly executed soundbite that sounds like he rehearsed it in front of the mirror a dozen times. Like he just is a great speaker. So you should speak to Ben and,
yeah, I look
not speak
forward
to
to it.
me.
And well, I speak to you as well. And the final thing is, you're also is Wadjet I still working on Night Hawks by
Yes,
Ricky Cubitt.
yeah, he went through some health issues, which he did talk about it on the Kickstarter. I'm not sure if it's public, but it knocked him for a loop and it slowed things down. But he's getting there, he's
Okay.
getting there. So I'm pulling for him, and the game looks great. The gameplay, from we did the voice acting about a year and a half ago, and it's richer. The writing's amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's getting there. It's getting there. Is
Okay.
all I can say.
Well,
Yeah.
very best of luck to him and to you on it, and hope to have him on the podcast as well. So, well, look, I better not keep you too much any longer. Actually, thank you so
I'm
much.
the one who keeps talking, so
No, no, I keep asking you questions because I could talk to you for hours. But look, thank you so much, Dave, for agreeing to come on the podcast as well. The very
oh,
best of
thank
luck
you.
with the game, with Old Skies, with Night Hawks, with Ben's new game, and congratulations on Hobbs Barrow. That was, I mean, everyone keeps talking about it still. So
I am very proud. I mean,
on to
I
the
can't. I mean, I came in towards the end, but I'm very happy with just how
it's
well that game has resonated. I am
mm,
very happy because they deserve it because they've really paid their dues, and the game is just really, really good.
yeah, it's fantastic. It's and Strangeland. Can't forget that. It was released during again. That helped me through COVID. So thank you to the guys in Wormwood.
That game, I wouldn't say it would help make you feel good during COVID.
Not
It's a
really,
very
but it kind of
unique
made me
game.
think about other things.
Yeah, okay. There we go. There we go. Helped you
Um,
realize your life isn't so bad. There we go.
exactly. So, so look, thank you. The very, very best of luck, and I'm sure we'll chat very soon. Um,
Yes, I'm sure
so,
we will.
so best of luck, and
Thank
best of luck, those
you.
guys, and don't forget to wish list and buy those guys,
Yes, please.
and we'll talk very, very soon.
Mm.
So that was my interview with Dave Gilbert. Huge thank you to Dave for joining me and for talking to me about his game, and huge congratulations on releasing the game to rave reviews. And as I said, we will be reviewing this game ourselves very, very soon. So thank you if you got to the end of the video. Thank you for sticking with us, and I hope you enjoyed that interview on this channel, and we'll be putting up more interviews. If you did enjoy it, please like, please subscribe. I hate having to ask people to do it, but apparently it helps. It help with visibility. Share the link, share the video as well. We want to upload more content like this, but we can only really do that if people watch it, if people enjoy it. And if there's anything that you would like from this channel, please let me know. You can write in the comments what are your thoughts on the game, what are your thoughts on the interview, anything that Dave said that you found interesting. You can also listen to our podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcasts, We're on the website. You can listen there as well, adventuregamespodcast.com, and on YouTube. There'll be more videos coming up within the next year as well. We are also on Patreon. If you'd like to support us there, patreon.com/Adventure Games Podcast. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for your support. And we'll be talking very, very soon. So take care, everybody. Goodbye.